Welcome to Wildlife Acoustics. This video will explore the audio settings of the SM4BAT FS recorder. From the main menu, scroll down to Settings and press the Enter button. Press the right arrow button to access the audio settings. The first item under the audio settings menu is Gain. Press the right arrow button again to highlight the gain options. Gain provides a boost in level to the ultrasonic microphone signal. The default setting is 12 dB. Change this to 0 dB if the bats to be recorded are very close to the microphone and therefore may cause overload clipping distortion. To save a setting, press the right arrow button repeatedly or press the Enter button. Next, scroll down to the 16K high filter setting. This will apply a gradual filter that will attenuate recorded signals starting below 16 kHz in frequency. This will help to filter out human and weather noise and will provide a more intelligible recording of signals that exist above 16 kHz. The next setting in the list is sample rate. The sample rate must be at least twice the frequency of the signal to be recorded. The default sample rate is 256 kHz, which can record audio signals up to 128 kHz in frequency and will capture all species of bats found in North America and the UK. The SM4BAT can also be set to record at 192, 384, and 500 kHz sample rates. A higher sample rate will use more memory card space, so set the sample rate based on the frequencies you expect to record. After the sample rate setting, we see settings for minimum duration, maximum duration, and minimum trigger frequency. For typical recording of bats, the SM4BAT is set to be triggered to record by a signal above a minimum frequency and specified level. The default minimum trigger frequency is 16 kHz and has a range from 2 kHz to 99 kHz. We'll get to the trigger level in a moment. The triggered recording can then be further examined for the presence of bats. Once the SM4BAT is triggered to record, the recording is examined by an internal scrubber. The scrubber looks to see if the recorded signal contains at least two events that are above the minimum trigger frequency and last for at least the minimum duration. For recording bats, the maximum duration is typically set to none. If the triggered signal does not meet the minimum frequency and minimum duration settings, the recording is scrubbed and not saved to the SD memory card. If the maximum and minimum durations are both set to none, the scrubber function is disabled and all triggered recordings will be saved to the memory card. The next settings are trigger level and trigger window. In order for the SM4BAT to be triggered to record, the microphone must pick up a signal that exceeds the minimum trigger frequency and trigger level. The trigger level can be set to 6, 12, 18, or 24 dB. If the trigger level is set to off, the SM4BAT will record non-stop as specified by the current recording schedule. If the trigger level is set to off, all other trigger parameters are ignored. For recording of bats, the SM4BAT should always be set to record via triggers as opposed to non-stop recording. Once the SM4BAT has been triggered to record, the trigger window will determine how long the recording continues after the last trigger signal has been detected. For example, if the trigger window is set to the default value of 3 seconds, the SM4BAT will continue to record for 3 seconds after the last signal that exceeded the trigger level and minimum trigger frequency. If no other signal is detected within the trigger window, the SM4BAT will cease recording and wait for a signal that will trigger the next recording. The max length limits the total length of any recording file. If the SM4BAT is triggered to record and the file is going to exceed the max length, the recording will stop at the specified limit and then be immediately re-triggered if there is still a signal present. There is also an inherent limit to the file size that can be stored on the SD memory card. Individual files cannot exceed 2 GB. Therefore, if a recording file is going to exceed 2 GB, it will automatically be split at the 2 GB limit. The last item in the audio menu is compression. The SM4BAT can record in a data-compressed format, which will result in smaller recording files and therefore use less SD memory card space. Higher amounts of compression will create a smaller file, but at the expense of data loss, and this translates into less audio fidelity. Typically, a setting of 8 or 6 will not compromise most BAT recordings. Compressed files can be converted to standard WAV files by the free version of Kaleidoscope software from Wildlife Acoustics. In the next video, we'll complete the rest of the items listed under the Settings menu. Thank you for watching. If you have questions or suggestions regarding this video, please contact Wildlife Acoustics Technical Support.